Welcome to part 3 of my mini-series of Brother security videos. In it, I am going to show you how I installed and set up a wireless access point along with Windows Server to function with Radius authentication. This is to assist some of my other videos where I explain how to connect Brother devices into secure networks. Please note that it is a continuation from parts 1 and 2, so unless you are watching this as a refresher course, I recommend you watch them first. Links to them can be found in the description. So, in this video, I will be configuring a wireless access point. My access point will be a Netgear WAX610, but of course other access points can also be used that support 802.1x radius. I will also be installing the Windows NPS role from the server that I already partly configured in parts 1 and 2 of this video series. I will be registering my network policy server once it's installed into Active Directory, then connecting NPS to my wireless access point, before concluding the video by creating a connection request policy. All of these things will be made clearer during the video. By the way, the NPS service is a Microsoft implementation of Radius. But what is Radius? It means Remote Authentication Dial-in User Service. But what does it do? Radius is used to accept requests from wireless and wired access points, routers and switches when integrated into enterprise 802.1x environments. On their own, these access points cannot authenticate connection requests and must forward them on to a Radius server. In this video, I will be using the Windows Network Policy server as my Radius server, and my access point will be a Netgear wireless router that supports Radius. And this is where I am going to start, by enabling Enterprise 802.1x authentication on my Netgear wireless access point. I'm going to make my configurations from the access point's embedded web server. From it, I need to enter its username and password, then click the login button. From here, I will click the Management tab and expand the wireless drop-down, where I need to click the Basic button. Here you can see that I have already set up an SSID. In case you were wondering, SSID stands for Service Set Identifier. So that I don't accidentally break it, I'm going to create another SSID by clicking this button. I will call it Enterprise and select the WPA2 Enterprise option from the Authentication drop-down. Next, I will ensure that the TK/IP plus AES option is selected from the Encryption drop-down. Then we'll click the Apply button. Here I can see that my new SSID has been created. Now I need to tell the wireless access point where the Radius server is. I can do this by expanding the security option, then clicking the Radius Settings button. From here, I will type the IP address of my Radius server, which will be Windows NPS. I'm going to leave the standard port number as is and then type a password. In Windows, this is referred to as a shared secret. To save this setting, I will finally click the Apply button. Let's now install the NPS role onto Windows Server, which I can do from the Windows Server Manager. From it, I am going to click the Add Roles and Features button, which will load the Add Roles and Features wizard. I will keep clicking the Next button until I get to the Server Roles menu, where I will select the Network Policy and Access Services option, and allow the wizard to also install the required features by clicking the Add Features button. I will now keep clicking the Next button until I get to the final confirmation screen, where I will click the Install button, which of course will begin the installation of NPS. When the installation is complete, I will click the Close button. The Network Policy Server has now been installed. Before I can go any further, I need to register NPS into Active Directory. To do this, I'm going to open the NPS server role, which I can find from the Windows Start menu. Then right-click the NPS local option and click the Register Server in Active Directory option. I will click the OK button on both of these pop-ups. And then I am done. Now I need to tell the Windows Network Policy Server to expect incoming connection requests from the Netgear wireless access point I recently set up. Again, I can do this from the Network Policy Server by expanding the Radius Clients and Servers drop-down, and then right-clicking the Radius Clients option and clicking the New option. From here, I will give the Radius client a friendly name. This is just so that I can identify it later. And then type the IP address of the Netgear router. I now need to click the Verify button. Then click the Resolve button. And then the OK button. From here, I now need to type the shared secret that I typed into the Netgear wireless router earlier. I can now save these settings. Before I move on, I just wanted to point out that what we have done is configure the Radius client. This is what Windows calls the Radius Enabled Access Point, or router. The last part of this video is where I am going to create something called a connection request policy in NPS. Like before, I can do this directly from the Network Policy Server by expanding the Policies drop-down, then right-clicking the Connection Request Policies option and clicking the New option. I'm going to start by giving the policy an easily identifiable name, then clicking the Next button. From here, I need to configure what kind of device is going to manage network connection requests by clicking the Add button. And then from a middle set of options, I am going to select both the wireless and Ethernet options. I'm selecting wireless simply because the access point I set up earlier in this video is wireless. I'm also selecting Ethernet to give me the flexibility to add a radius supported wired switch or router later. I also need to select these access point types in the set of options below. Note that Ethernet is referred to as cable and wireless is wireless other. To confirm, I will click the OK button, followed by the Next button. From here, I can keep the default settings and click the Next button, as well as here and here. I am now at the end of the wizard and will click the Finish button. Here is my new policy and I'm ready to move on to the next video. You now have 2 videos to choose from depending on what type of authentication you want to set up next. If you want me to show you how to set up PEAP, that is using a username and password from Active Directory, click the link on your screen now. If you want to learn how to set up EAP-TLS, which uses a certificate to authenticate instead of a password, click this link on your screen. I have also put links to these videos in the description. Right now, I would like to summarize what I have done in this video. I started by configuring my Netgear wireless access point by creating an enterprise SSID and specifying the Windows Network Policy Server, which is Microsoft's version of Radius. I then installed the Network Policy Server role, NPS. Once installed, I registered NPS into Active Directory. I then registered my wireless access point into NPS. I concluded by creating a connection request policy in the Network Policy Server. Thank you for watching.